This story out of Charlotte, North Carolina grows. It grows only because the mainstream media has been dragged kicking and screaming over to covering it. Only because of shows like yours and mine were they forced to acknowledge this young, beautiful, innocent, white, blonde, beautiful Ukrainian woman was killed, stabbed to death out of nowhere by a black man from Charlotte, North Carolina, who seems deeply disturbed in multiple ways and had been, as they say, a sophisticated consumer of the criminal justice system prior to plunging his pocket knife into poor Irina's neck on a public train. An extraordinary display on CNN last night on that Abby Phillips show discussing this story. And she had on, among others, my pal Arthur Aidala was there. She had on Van Jones, and Van Jones is completely gone. I mean, his take on this story is insane, and he knows better. He knows better. He didn't do his homework, I'm going to guess, but where they took this commentary was deeply ignorant and, of course, insulting, and played the race card against the people who are saying, hey, this would be very different if the races were reversed of the perp and the victim. First, I want to update the audience from this point yesterday on the murderer accused, DeCarlos Brown, who on this train, after he plunged the knife into Irina, got up and walked down a couple train cars and then off the train. And as he had the knife, as he was dripping blood, and now we have heard, and we heard this yesterday prior to that CNN show late last night, the audio of what he says. Listen carefully. We've listened to it many times. We've sped it up. We've slowed it down. We've turned up the volume. And what he is saying is, I got that white girl. I got that white girl. Here it is. So very disturbing. He's disturbed and obviously is mentioning race. By the way, on that front, we have a belief, a well-founded belief, that the FBI may be stepping into this case with an announcement shortly. So stay tuned for that. It could happen during this show. All right. So with all that buildup, I'm going to take you to Abby Phillips' show. And here's Abby Phillip, who never misses an opportunity to make her segments or her show about race and how oppressed black people like Abby Phillip, who makes millions of dollars, presumably, are. Here she is in SOT 3.
Certain people have been looking for an opportunity to find a case like this, to make a point like this. I want to play, this is Charlie Kirk, why he says this hasn't gotten a lot of attention.
A white Ukrainian refugee was murdered just because she was white. Everybody knows that, obviously. If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice, law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Instead, Megan Basham, no one seems to care when a white woman gets stabbed to the death.
Wow. He said white a lot.
They've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of like reciprocal George Floyd situation. And that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game. And it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
It's sad. She's sad. She's super sad. And here's the follow-up. Hold your thought from Van Jones in SOT 4.
We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass. You mentioned the thing about cashless bail. I think this is a big challenge that we have. Would you have felt better if there had been cash bail and the mom had come and put down $1,000 to let him out? It's not about cashless bail or no cashless bail. It's about the fact that we don't know how to deal with people who are hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people hurt people.
Oh, my God. Hurt people hurt people. That's okay. Just two quick things. The mom would have gotten him out of jail, like if there'd been like bail. We don't know that she wouldn't have gone down and bailed him out. Yes, we do, because the mom wanted him locked up. Van needs to do his homework. He did not do his homework before he went on that show, because I do not believe he wants to appear willfully ignorant. The mother was upset that the system continued turning her son back out into the community. She didn't know what to do with him and had run out of options. So I believe the mother would not have bailed him out had there been cash bail. And the business about where's the George Floyd policing, like nothing changed in this country after George Floyd, Andrew. Like, we're just going to pretend that wasn't some watershed moment where the left lost its ever-loving mind and forced all of corporate America and sports America and educational America to bend the knee on this race essentialism, which has still infested virtually every area of our lives and how we live to this day. We're only starting to unravel it thanks to the Trump election this past November. Your thoughts on it all?
Well, I think this is a huge story. Leaving aside the details of the story itself, the story that I think is just basically is an example of our time and what this moment in time is about is the question of whether a news media that is corrupt to its core is going to continue to be allowed to distort the facts and distort the state of the country, or have we finally amassed enough power in independent media to turn that story around? And what I mean by that is this. There are two kinds of news stories, essentially. There's a news story that's sensational. We're all interested if a beautiful blonde movie star gets killed by her famous athlete husband. That's a big story simply because we are made as human beings to pay attention to stories like that in the same way we're made to tell stories about kings in Shakespeare to represent something about the human race. We attach our identities to famous, beautiful people. That's just a human fact. That's not a very important story. It's just a sensational story and an appealing story. The other kind of story are stories that are examples indicative of what is going on. So if 50 people are slaughtered on a single night or shot in a single night in Chicago, that's an important news story because it indicates what's going on in Chicago and in cities that are run in a similar way to Chicago. This corrupt media has done everything it can to make the exception the rule and the rule the exception. To cover a George Floyd story, which is an anomalous story, a story of a man who died in police custody, maybe, we're not even sure of this, even though a court decided it was true, we're not sure that he died because of the actions of a police officer. We certainly can say that the police officer didn't act out of bigotry because he was never charged with a hate crime, so we know that was never an issue. But we have no idea why that happened, but it's a very rare thing that happens. What is not a rare thing is black people committing crime. And they don't commit crimes because they're black. The obsession with race is on the left. It's not on the right. What we're saying is cover everything as what it is. If you want to cover, the beautiful actress getting killed by the athlete, that's fine. But don't tell us that's the state of athletics and movie stars, because it's not. But if you're going to cover the story of a black man attacking a white person, that is a more likely scenario. And if you want to really cover murder, which is almost all male against male, and a lot of it, a very strong disproportion of it, black against black, then cover that, because that's going to tell you something about the state of the country. What the left does continually is it raises up the exception as the rule, and it does it because of hostility toward this country and because of what this country stands for, which is the sovereignty of the people, the government of ordinary people running elites. And what the media represents in their corruption is this sliver of elites who set opinions and tell us what we're supposed to think and do. You're absolutely right. George Floyd, it didn't change anything. It simply exploded a narrative that had been in the pipeline for decades up until that moment. And they seized upon it in a moment of crisis, the moment of the pandemic, and caused and encouraged riots, and then told us the riots weren't happening. And if they were happening, we deserved it. Moved to, defund the police, which of course is a horrible thing to do to the poor and to people living in tough black neighborhoods where they need the police more than anybody else. And to explain to us that we systemically are racist, which is a complete nonsense. We were the least, I've lived in different countries. This is the least racist country I have ever been in. It's not that human beings aren't racist, they are, but this is the least racist systemically country I've ever been in. And so what we are doing now is we have forced them to cover a story that would have been covered, we know for a fact, it would have been covered 0%. And we know that because until X and you and all of us started chiming in and saying, wait a minute, why isn't this a big story? Because it is both sensational and indicative. Why isn't it? We have forced them now to cover it in the kind of crazy way that CNN was covering it. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about race. We're talking about the fact that they are excluding this from the news because of race.
That's exactly right.
This is a story of human evil, and it's a story of the fact that there is a culture, there is a black culture that has been created by the left. It was encouraged by the left of fatherless children, of not being responsible, of cashless bail, which is a simply insane policy that has basically enculturated this kind of person to crime. And then they say, oh, we're not allowed to pay attention to that crime because they're black. It's not because they're black. It's because the left is the left, and the left has dominated black society, which also, Megyn, is a question of elites dictating to the poor. This is, for instance, when you talk about fatherless children, it is one thing for the New York Times to tell its people in Park Slope that wouldn't it be fun to try a throuple? Wouldn't it be great to have a child out of wedlock? What do you need a father for? Wouldn't it be just as good if gay people adopted? Wouldn't it just be just as good if we got rid of the family? That's going to be fine if you have the money to pay for the rehab your fatherless child is going to end up in. If you don't have the money to pay for that rehab, and if you don't have the money to buy people off so they don't pay attention to his criminality and his bad behavior, your son is going to end up in prison. And then you're going to cry, oh, it's because of black people. It's not because of black people. It's because of leftist policies.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.